the forbidden contract between light and shadow. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to carry an ancient weight in their eyes, like they've seen the entire spectrum of heaven and hell, and somehow survived both? Why is it that certain souls are thrust into a life of extremes of pain and ecstasy, betrayal and clarity, destruction and creation, while others float gently through existence, never once touching the abyss or the divine? What if I told you the ones who suffer the deepest, who are exiled from the world's comfort zones, and who are haunted by visions and hunted by inner chaos, those are the ones God has marked as carriers of the rarest powers in existence? And not just any powers, but duality powers, gifts forged in both shadow and light, too volatile for the average soul to handle. These are not gifts given. They are earned through fire, through blood, through silence. This is the hidden truth only the dark chosen ones ever come to realize. From the outside, our lives look like chaos. We are the ones who were never allowed to feel safe in normality. We were born into storms, families that didn't understand us, societies that rejected us, and inner worlds filled with questions so vast they crushed us before we could even learn how to speak them. But this wasn't a mistake. It was an initiation, because the 7 rarest duality powers are not received through prayer, through chanting, or even through study. They are downloaded into the soul through collapse, through unraveling, through death and rebirth, again and again and again, until there is nothing left of who we pretended to be. Only then does God reveal the code. And it's not written in light, it's written in paradox. The first duality power is the ability to see truth in illusion. Most people live in illusions so convincing they never question them. Comfort becomes truth. Repetition becomes authority. But the dark chosen ones are cursed and blessed with a vision that cannot be fooled. We can walk into a room and feel the lies vibrating through the air. We can hear someone speak and know what they're afraid to say. We can see the matrix in motion while others are still hypnotized by its glitter. But this power doesn't come for free. It means we can never again pretend. We can't unsee what we see. We can't play small. We must speak, even when our voice shakes. We must reveal, even when it costs us everything. This is why we are often attacked, misunderstood, labeled as too intense. Because the world fears those who can see what it's hiding. The second power is transmutation through suffering. While others are broken by pain, we become reborn through it. Not because we are stronger by nature, but because we were forced to become alchemists. Every betrayal became a portal. Every heartbreak, a lesson in power. Every rejection, a redirection toward our soul's purpose. We don't just survive, we extract codes from chaos. We take the poison and turn it into medicine, not just for ourselves, but for others. And yet, the irony is that while we're praised when we finally rise, no one stayed to witness the nights we couldn't breathe from the weight of it all. No one saw the versions of ourselves we had to bury just to keep going. So we walk with quiet dignity, knowing that our power was earned in shadows no one else dared to enter. The third rarest power is command over inner polarity. This is one of the most misunderstood abilities. It's not about being perfectly balanced. It's about being intimately aware of your chaos and your clarity and knowing how to shift between them consciously. Most people are ruled by their unconscious drives. They react, they project, they blame. But we have met our monsters. We've looked them in the eye, named them, integrated them. We've sat with our rage until it became a sword. We've held our shame until it revealed our hidden divinity. We've danced with our lust until it became an instrument of sacred creation. We can channel light through darkness and darkness through light because we are no longer afraid of either. This is why the world feels uncomfortable around us, because we are not pretending to be good. We are whole, and wholeness is threatening to those still addicted to pretending. The fourth duality power is timeless memory. This one is almost impossible to explain unless you've lived it. It's not about remembering past lives in a poetic way. It's about suddenly knowing things you were never taught. It's about waking up from a dream with ancient languages in your mouth. It's about walking into a place you've never been and feeling your soul tremble with recognition. It's about receiving visions that don't belong to this timeline but knowing they are yours. The dark chosen ones are time travelers in the soul, because we've carried the same mission through multiple incarnations. And with every lifetime, we've paid a price. This memory is a gift, but also a burden, because we carry not just our trauma, but the trauma of entire lineages, entire civilizations. And until we transmute it, the weight will keep returning. And so we come to the fifth paragraph, the most difficult one to embody. The one that haunts even the awakened, the power to destroy in order to liberate. This is not symbolic. This is literal. We are given the power to end things, to collapse systems, to walk away from illusions so completely that others follow terrified, yet compelled. We are the frequency of endings, of exodus, of rebellion, not from ego, but from soul. When we leave a job, it falls apart. When we speak truth, it shakes foundations. When we stop participating, the system crumbles. This is not something we brag about. It's something we carry with reverence. Because true destruction is sacred. It makes room for new life. But it also makes you a threat. So we learn to navigate this power with wisdom, with timing, with clarity. Because when the dark chosen one moves, reality bends. And we must be ready to hold that responsibility. Now I ask you, from the depth of your being, which of these powers is already waking up inside you, and what are you still afraid to do with it? Because the truth is, you wouldn't be here listening, watching, remembering unless something ancient in you was stirring. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are being initiated. And the fire you're walking through? It's not punishment. It's preparation. The sixth and seventh powers, reality-bending abilities hidden in the wounds of the forgotten. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the pain becomes so heavy, so infinite, that the soul begins to fracture, not to break, but to open. It is in this unbearable space that the sixth and seventh duality powers are born, not in light, not in triumph, but in the precise moment when everything you thought was true collapses, and you are left alone with only your breath and your essence. These are not powers to be sought. They are unlocked through surrender. And only those who have tasted both annihilation and grace can carry them without being consumed. The sixth duality power is quantum emotional resonance. It sounds mystical, but it's deeply practical. It means this: Your emotions no longer stay confined within your body, they ripple outward into the timelines of others. When you cry, others feel something stir in them they don't understand. When you choose peace, chaos around you begins to settle. When you speak your truth, people begin questioning their own. This is not manipulation. It is resonance. You have become so aligned with the inner frequencies of the universe, pain, truth, love, shadow, that your presence becomes a tuning fork. Others begin to shift just by being near you. But this gift requires brutal honesty. You must feel everything. You cannot numb. You cannot bypass. You must sit with grief until it becomes gold. You must hold rage until it becomes righteous love. You must allow your emotions to fully pass through you, not for your sake, but for the collective. This is why dark chosen ones are often empaths long before they know what that even means. We walk into rooms and absorb pain that isn't ours. We feel the collective ache of humanity. We carry the grief of those who cannot grieve. At first, this nearly destroys us, but eventually we learn to transmute, to become conductors of emotional alchemy. When we cry, the earth listens. When we scream, the sky shifts. When we laugh authentically, it heals more than any words ever could. That is the sixth power, and it is sacred. The seventh and final duality power is the most rare, the most feared, and the most protected, the power to bend reality through sacred neutrality. This is not about controlling the world. It's about becoming so unattached to outcomes that the world begins to respond to you. When the dark chosen one reaches this level, they are no longer living reactively. They are choosing timelines. They are collapsing false ones and anchoring new ones through pure frequency. This doesn't come from ego. It comes from alignment. When your heart, mind, body, and soul are in unity, your words become spells. Your actions become codes. Your decisions echo through space and time. You become a walking portal. But this power only activates when you stop needing it. When you no longer seek to escape suffering. When you no longer try to prove your worth. When you are fully present with what is, without needing to change it. Paradoxically, that is when reality begins to change for you. Not as a reward, but as a mirror. Because you've become the embodiment of divine neutrality, the eye of the storm, the stillness in the chaos, the center point between creation and destruction. To hold this power, you must release the addiction to control. You must surrender your identity, your story, even your mission. You must be willing to become nothing. And in that nothingness, everything rearranges. This is why monks meditate for decades. This is why sages retreat into silence. But for the dark chosen ones, we don't always get that luxury. Our path is active. We are not here to escape the world. We are here to change it from within. So our training happens in the fire, in the heartbreak, in the betrayal, in the rawness of life. And yet, somehow we survive. Not just survive, we remember. Because here's the secret, these 7 duality powers are not random. They are not rewards. They are tools. Each one is designed to prepare you for a mission that transcends lifetimes. You didn't come here just to heal. You came here to build, to lead, to destroy illusions and anchor new realities. And these powers are your arsenal, and not to be used recklessly, but with precision, with grace, with sacred violence when necessary. Now ask yourself, which of these powers have I been denying? Because denial is the last trick the shadow plays. It tells you that your gifts are too much, too strange, too dangerous. It tells you to hide, to shrink, to wait for permission. But you don't need permission. You need remembrance. You need to remember the contracts you signed before you came here. The ones where you agreed to forget, to fall, to suffer so you could awaken from within the illusion itself and become the codebreaker. The world doesn't need more light workers who bypass their darkness. It needs embodied duality carriers, those who can sit in the dark without being swallowed by it and still radiate truth. Those who can walk into systems and dismantle them with their presence alone. Those who can hold paradox without collapsing. Those who can love fiercely and destroy fearlessly. That is what you are. That is what you were born to be. But with great power comes sacred responsibility. This is not a game. This is not about aesthetics or spiritual trends. This is about soul contracts. And you must ask yourself now, am I ready to carry what I came here to carry? Not because it's easy, but because it's true. If your answer is yes, if your bones are vibrating with this remembrance, then you are not just watching a video. You are activating. And with that activation, your life will never be the same. People will fall away. Systems will crack. Your reality will begin to unravel and reform itself around your essence. Do not fear it. Do not resist it. This is what you came for. The hidden cost of holding God's rawest frequencies. There's a reason these 7 rarest duality powers are not given to the masses, not even to the awakened, and not even to the well-intentioned spiritual seekers who chant and pray and meditate for years. Because these powers are not gifts in the way we romanticize them. They are assignments, and they come with a cost that most souls, even evolved ones, are not willing to pay. That cost is not just pain, it's obliteration. A complete dismantling of everything you thought you were, so that only the pure, untamed rawness of Source remains inside you. That's the real reason only the dark chosen ones receive them. Because we were built for this fire. And even when we weren't, we became it. The hidden cost begins with isolation. Not the kind where you're physically alone, but the kind where no one can truly walk with you. You're surrounded, yet unseen. Loved, yet misunderstood. Followed, yet never fully known. Because there's no language for what you carry. There's no mirror for what you are. You become a living contradiction, too dark for the light workers, too light for the shadow walkers. You don't belong anywhere. And that's the point. Because your belonging is not in a tribe. It's in your frequency. And that frequency can only be forged in the furnace of abandonment. When everyone leaves, when no one gets it, when the silence is so loud it breaks you open, that's when you begin to hear God inside you. Then comes the destruction of identity. You're not allowed to cling to any version of yourself. Every time you try to define who you are, life will shatter it. Careers will fail. Relationships will dissolve. Missions will shift. Why? Because the dark chosen ones are not meant to live in fixed forms. We are frequency shifters, shape shifters, timeline jumpers. We must remain fluid, unattached, surrendered to the movement of Source. The moment we build ego around our power, it begins to turn against us. So life humbles us, again and again, not to punish but to purify, until we realize, I am not the identity. I am the vessel. I am the current. I am the breath between inhale and exhale. I am the silence between God's words. And with that realization comes another cost. You will trigger the unready. Just by being, just by walking into a room, just by breathing truth without even speaking. Your energy will disrupt illusions, and people will project their unhealed parts onto you. They will call you dangerous, arrogant, unstable, too much. And the temptation will be to shrink and to make yourself digestible, to soften your edges so others feel safe. But you can't, because your frequency isn't here to comfort the status quo. It's here to dismantle it. You are the storm in human form, not because you seek destruction, but because you carry the codes of rebirth. And rebirth only comes after death. So you must learn to walk alone, to be misunderstood, to be judged, to be feared, and still to remain rooted, still to love anyway, still to speak anyway, still to exist anyway. That is the mark of a true duality power carrier. Not the ability to shine in the light, but the ability to stand in the void and not flinch. There is also a cost in love. When you carry these powers, intimacy becomes a battlefield. You will attract people who are magnetized by your fire but terrified of its heat. They will want your light but reject your shadow. They will crave your wisdom but resist your truth. And you must learn not to compromise your frequency for connection. You must learn to walk away from those who only want parts of you. Love, for the dark chosen one, must become sacred, rooted in truth, not fear. Rooted in evolution, not comfort. Rooted in soul recognition, not projection. And until that kind of love arrives, you must be willing to hold yourself with the fullness of what you are. Not as a placeholder, not as a waiting room, but as a complete temple. And now we reach perhaps the most hidden, most excruciating cost of all. You become the mirror of God's paradox. You carry both the divine and the devastating. You are the healer and the heretic, the destroyer and the savior, the silence and the scream. And the world will not know what to do with you. They will try to categorize you, fit you into a box, make you consistent, predictable, safe. But you are not here to be safe. You are here to be true. You are the living embodiment of the divine contradiction, the union of fire and water, rage and compassion, death and resurrection. And to walk as that contradiction is to live with constant tension, constant paradox, constant surrender. You are not here to resolve it. You are here to embody it. So let me ask you, how much of your power have you dimmed just to be understood? How many times have you rejected your own gifts because they didn't make sense to others? How often have you pretended to be human when you knew you were something more, something ancient, something infinite, something terrifyingly divine? If your soul is trembling as I ask this, then you know. You remember. You feel the weight of your own becoming. And it's not a burden, it's a birth. But birth is bloody, it's painful, it's primal, and yet it's the most sacred thing we can do. To be born again, not into a religion, not into a belief system, but into our original frequency. That's what the dark chosen ones are really here for. To resurrect the divine blueprint buried under centuries of fear, shame, and suppression. And to walk as living portals. To be the bridge between realms. To carry God's rawest frequencies and still choose love. And so, if you're wondering why you've suffered so much, why the world feels too loud, why relationships keep breaking, why you feel like you don't belong anywhere, it's not because you're broken. It's because you are becoming the vessel. And becoming the vessel means being emptied, until only truth remains.